thank you, KCIW listeners, for tuning in to the Quality Living with Peaceful Support show. I am Amanda Whittemore. I am a yoga teacher in town. You may also find me teaching Pilates at Reps Gym. Everyone is welcome to join. And I'm also an end-of-life doula, and we've been kind of giving a little bit of attention to that. You can find that in all of our other shows in the archives here on kciw.org/quality-living. And I highly recommend that if you're interested in the things that we talk about here on the radio program and our online podcast that's available to our global audience, please share with your friends and family. And we are here for you. Give a call anytime you'd like, 541-661-4098. And also a very good moment for us to give thanks to all the listeners and all the donations, because this is a volunteer-based radio program. The entire KCIW organization runs strictly with volunteers and donations. So we thank you wholeheartedly for all the support that we have in the Curry County. Today on the Quality Living with Peaceful Support show, we have one of the most super special people that I've gotten able to interact with here in the line of work that I do as an end-of-life doula. I have Jan Rowe online, and audience, this is about a 50-minute process of us to get electricity and technology to work with us as we bring Jan online. She's the outreach coordinator for ELCOR. Jan, please say hi to the audience and tell us all about what we have to talk about today.
Okay. Well, End-of-Life Choices Oregon is also a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2017 to support clients, residents of Oregon, the medical community, the public, to give them information about using medical aid in dying, which is a prescription that is allowed through the Oregon Death with Dignity Act. So our organization supports people through the whole process. We give them information about all their various end-of-life choice options, including hospice, palliative care, withdrawal of medical treatment, voluntary stopping eating and drinking, and then, of course, medical aid in dying, which used to be called Death with Dignity. That's the name of the law. But throughout the country, the more accepted terminology now is medical aid in dying. So we will actually support people through the whole process. And we can talk about that a little later. But I got involved with this organization because my husband got a terminal diagnosis in 2014, and he used the law to end his life, and his death was so peaceful and exactly as he wanted that a few hours after he died, my daughter, who was present with us, said, "Mom, Jack's death was so peaceful, we need to tell people about this." And about 6 months later, I got in touch with Compassion and Choices, which at the time was the organization in Oregon that supported people who wanted to get a prescription. And I have been doing presentations like this, outreach, ever since early 2015.
Thank you for that. The work of education goes above and beyond our calling or our path of the the way that we are here on earth to support each other through our pains, our fears, any of our emotions, really, our experience on life, and the ability to be birthed into life and the experience to leave our bodies once we're done with them. So thank you so much for that, Jan.
You're welcome. It's really something that is profound. It is certainly a privilege and an honor to be asked to attend someone's death. And the work that we do is so appreciated by people who ask for our help. That, again, it's an honor to be able to do this. We honor people's choices about this. And so we don't try to persuade anybody to do anything. We simply answer questions and support people. But it's the client's decision about what they're going to do at the end of their life. And we just encourage them to get information and talk with their families or talk with their spiritual leader to make these decisions and to share it or not with whomever they want to share.
That's very kind and a very compassionate way of holding space and giving room to find the answers. And a lot of people, listeners, for you out there, we're on the Quality Living Show with Peaceful Support. And we're talking with Jan Rowe, the outreach coordinator of End of Life Choices. And it's pretty much one of the largest controversies. Oregon is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the only state in the United States that allows this?
No, there are actually 11 states now.
11?
And the Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So there are 11. And we actually, our organization here in Oregon, again, as I said, it's a donation-based nonprofit. We have board of directors, we have executive directors and team leaders, one of which I am. We have 5 teams. So we have a team each in Portland, Salem, Eugene, Bend, and Southern Oregon. So I'm involved, of course, with the Southern Oregon group. And our territory kind of covers from Roseburg south, actually into Wairika almost. And then over to the coast, up as far as Coos Bay, and east over to Lakeview. So we have quite a large territory. We just now are training 5 new volunteers, and overall, our team has about 20 volunteers with this new group. We have over 100 in the whole state. And we have a very rigid training program that takes about 6 weeks. Again, everybody is volunteers. We do not act as medical providers when we're volunteers like this. So even though a lot of our volunteers are doctors, active doctors, retired doctors, nurses like me, social workers, in the capacity as an ELCOR volunteer, again, we give information and support, but we do not give medical information or advice. So we really, really encourage everyone to get on hospice service when they get their terminal diagnosis and get the support that they can from their hospices. We work hand in hand with hospices and with death doulas, like yourself, Amanda.
And what we found is with hospice or with families, sometimes there's a little bit, like you said, it's completely unbiased. It's simply education-based, and it's 100% at their will and their choice of how they proceed. And that's kind of my part. A lot of people question, what does an end-of-life doula do? They have a spiritual leader. Why did they need a doula? Because a lot of the times the family or the I'm going to be really careful with this one. There's other components to the whole group of people who are caring for the person who's dying. Sometimes it is so easy to forget that that person that is dying, it is their choice. And as an advocate, a patient advocate for the person who's dying, we, as the end-of-life doula, it's part of our course that we sign a honor that we will uphold their choice. And so to be an advocate for them and to make sure that their living wishes happen, a lot of the times family gets scared or doctors get scared or people try to kind of, go a different route or try other things when the patient has already made up their mind, signed the papers. I've had experiences where they want to wait a couple more days, even though the patient is screaming and yelling for their dose that they've signed up for. And it's just not the easiest experiences at all. It's some of the most difficult experiences I've ever had.
Right. But again, as you say, it's the patient's choice. And sometimes they have conflict with family. And sometimes the patients do just give in to a family member who doesn't want them to use their prescription or just doesn't like the choice they're making. And sometimes the client prevails and, they get to do it their way. But regardless of what happens, we support the client. That's the most important thing. We feel we support the client's choice. So if we need to step away, we step away. But then there are a lot of people out there, sadly, who have no family at all, and they really need help, and they may need help from us. Then that's one reason they may hire a death doula, because it's not an easy process, and just doctor's appointments and everything else that goes on with a dying person can get very complicated. So we try to make things easier, try to make the path a little easier for them.
Absolutely. And it is so majorly appreciated. And I remember there a time that we had ELCOR come on and with Death with Dignity, and they were able to do an online service via the webcam because the person was unable to physically leave their location. Is that still an option?
Yes, definitely. So there have been things, that really started during COVID, which turned out to be a good thing, that we could do the telemedicine visits. And sometimes clients have the capacity themselves. Sometimes they need their hospice personnel to help them with just the technology of doing a telemed appointment. Sometimes we can help them as well. But that's a huge help.
Absolutely. And it's just such a gift. I try to remind people when they just can't fathom or wrap their mind around the fact of somebody wishing to kind of plan their death or choose to have a prescription that will end their life before what people think is their time, because obviously if they're making their choice, it's their time. However, I remind people that when we have an animal, and it's really not the same at all, but however, when we have an animal that is at their peak of death and they're just in agony and they can't use the bathroom anymore and they're not going to get the surgery because if they get the surgery, it would kill them anyways. And they're just in the most amount of just agonizing pain and discomfort. The number one thing we do is we go ahead and we alleviate them from that pain. And I've seen with especially our elders and all ages, that the importance of allowing them to go, and it's just something that we don't talk about death as much as we talk about birth, but everyone is born into earth and everyone is going to die. And so I really have been gifted the ability to experience death and be able to bring it to attention and talk about it and celebrate it and love the process and see the beauty of alleviation.
Yes, it's been a big relief for a lot of people over the years. And, I'd like to give you a few statistics, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Do ask. The Oregon Health Authority was mandated when the law was written to keep statistics on the death, the causes, what the disease was, that kind of thing. And so the law has been in effect since 1998. So 2023 was 25 years of statistics. And in all that time, in 25 years, there has been a total of 4,274 people who have received prescriptions. And 2,847 of those people have died after using their prescription. So that's about 67% of the people who get a prescription. So roughly 2/3 of the people who get prescriptions actually use them. The other third either die before they physically have the prescription in their hand, or a sudden event prevents them from doing them, or they just choose not to. They may not have much pain, they may not have much discomfort, and they just choose not to use the prescription. In Oregon, the demographics were mostly white as far as the state goes. And most of the patients who use prescription are 65 or older and were white. The most common diagnoses have been cancer, followed by neurological diseases like ALS and Parkinson's and MS, and then heart disease. And MAID only accounted for 0.8% of all deaths in Oregon in 2023, so less than 1%. 88% of people died at home, and 87% were enrolled in hospice care. So particularly getting in hospice care is one of the things that again, we try to get everyone to do that. The law has been had a couple of amendments made to it. And 2 years ago, they made it possible to have a prescription expedited. So the original law has that you have to wait 15 days between requests to the prescribing doctor. But if the doctor does not think you are going to live that 15-day waiting period, they can make arrangements to write a prescription sooner. So about 28% of prescriptions have actually been expedited in the last 2 years. And the other thing that is significant is Oregon is one of only 2 states now in the country that has done away with its residency requirement. So you no longer have to be a resident of Oregon, but you do have to come to Oregon, and you have to have doctors in Oregon take you through the process and write your prescription. It is illegal to take that prescription across any state line in which MAID is not legal. So basically, if you come here to Oregon to get a prescription from another state, it's best to plan to die in Oregon. Most people have been up to Multnomah County because there are a lot more doctors up there who are willing to prescribe medication. So that's where we see that happening most. I don't think in the last 2 years in Southern Oregon, we have not had anyone come, well, I shouldn't say that. You know what we just did a few months ago? We had a woman who came from out of state and her prescription here, but that does not happen very often.
Mm-hmm. And
so there are other goals that changes that ELCOR hopes to have enacted in the coming year, but that remains to be seen. Right now, only an MD or a DO can write a prescription. And there are a lot of people in the state, especially huge Eastern Oregon, who only have a physician assistant or a advanced practice nurse practitioner. So we're trying to get the law changed to allow prescriptions to be written by nurse practitioners or physician assistant. But that remains to be seen whether or not the legislature will agree to that.
Right, that's a goal and process for ELCOR. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the Quality Living with Peaceful Support program. Just a brief reminder, we're talking with Jan Rowe, the outreach coordinator of End of Life Choices Oregon. And this is for those that are severely ill and are choosing to end their life so they with dignity and without having, if anyone's watched somebody pass away or die that's on hospice, it is a long and agonizing process and a horrible road that nobody wishes to participate with. And tell us, Jan, how our listeners, where or how, is there somewhere that we could look up more information or how to get in contact?
Yes. I actually just put some brochures in the mail to you today.
Lovely.
But in fact, we have a website. It is ELCOR Oregon, ELCOR, basically ELCOREGON.org. You can even just look up Death with Dignity in Oregon. And the ELCOR website will come up. We have a phone number for intake and information. That number is 503-922-1132. And those intake people can give you lots of information about, your choices, how to get in touch with doctors, asking for a volunteer, or asking about volunteering yourself. So you need to go formally through the process to get a volunteer if you think you qualify. If you don't, we can explain to you, ultimately how you might qualify at a certain time. The volunteers are more than ready to talk with you if you want information about voluntarily stopping eating and drinking as well, which oftentimes is a natural progression of your disease. Some people are not interested in MAID at all. They just want to know about stopping eating and drinking. And again, some clients have diagnoses. Their illness is such that they can't swallow anymore. They might have an obstruction of their esophagus or their stomach. And so that creates its own set of problems that we can help educate people with. Again, we're just willing to talk with anyone to give them the information they need. And we also try to give presentations. We'll talk to the Rotary Club. We'll talk to your church group. We will talk to your doctors. Our doctors will call your doctors to explain them, and help them through the process if they have never helped one patient.
That is really, really beautiful. I don't think that there's any place that I'm not sure if anybody, any of our listeners or yourself, Jan, has heard of Nathan Adelson.
No, I have not.
It's a actual location where instead of it being, it's not a hospital, it feels exactly like your home. It feels like a living room setting. And my grandparents chose to pass away there for their end of life choice with dignity. If anything were to ever go wrong, they had set it in advance, and they work with military, and it's in Las Vegas, Nevada. And NathanAdelson.org, it's also a nonprofit organization. They create a home setting, a home feeling to where, let's say there's problems in the house, or there's things happening, or there's where if it's not big enough for all the family to gather to be there for those days, and they do it, all the processes of ELCOR, where they teach the family and they educate them about why the person is not eating, why they're or drinking, or it's literally like having, instead of hospice coming into your home, they bring them to the location and they can die with dignity there. And it just feels like it's a safe place that I learned about these processes with.
Wow, that's fabulous. That's good to hear about that. Unfortunately, it's only in Las Vegas, you said?
Correct. I think it's the only place in the world, actually.
Okay. Well, we have had clients who have had to leave their homes to use their prescriptions. Some living facilities, some retirement homes do not allow a resident to use MAID in their home, unfortunately. And so we've had clients who've had to find maybe a foster home or an Airbnb, or even go to a hotel. And so one of the things we also do is try to talk to residential facilities to try to talk to them about their policy on that, and see if they are willing to allow their residents to use MAID.
It is a legal choice, and I am so grateful for you. We have to end the show, and we will do this many more times here on Quality Living with Peaceful Support. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.